Hello, everyone. Welcome into Above My Pay Grade. My name is Eric. Thanks for tuning in. If you could hit like, hit subscribe, really helps out the channel. Now, tonight, 7:30 Mountain Standard Time, I'm doing an AMA. If you guys would like to join, cover some news topics, and then kind of discuss what's on your mind. So please join if you'd like to. Now, if you guys are familiar with the Congressional Budget Office, bipartisan group of thinkers, I use that term loosely, who kind of discuss the future of our budget. They do the math essentially, and they forecast what's coming in the future. And recently, on December 7th, they came out with ways to reduce the deficit. I'll link this story in the description below so you guys can check out all the details. There's a part one and part two. But if you want to know how Congress is thinking about money, and if you see the forecast of $31 trillion in debt, our debt servicing cost is going up, you might think to yourself, they got to cut something or raise taxes. One of those two things needs to happen. So, how does it affect you? Is the question. Let's take a look at this story here from the CBO. And so, the title is Options for Reducing the Deficit, Volume 1. And there's also, like I said, a Volume 2. So, I'm just going to give you the highlights here. And then you guys can read into it if you'd want. But think to yourself how voters would think about this. Because everyone's down with government cutting spending unless it affects them. And I think the main reason for that is because they don't think it's fair. So if the government cuts spending, let's say you have a special program, Medicaid or Medicare, and they cut spending there, they're not going to cut spending across the board. They're not going to be fiscally responsible. They're just going to move that money from that location to another location, maybe defense spending or whatever. So that's how I kind of think about it when people think, well, I want the government to reduce spending, but just not on me. Uh, the government has never stopped overspending. So when they cut spending in one place, most people think they're just going to spend that money somewhere else. So why cut my benefits? But this is how Congress is thinking. Okay, so um, establish caps on federal spending for Medicaid. That Medicaid is one of the things that is tied to inflation. So if they establish caps on it, um, would that limit your benefits? Yes. Limit state taxes on healthcare providers. That could be a good thing. Reduce federal Medicaid matching rates. So you're seeing a trend here. Reduce benefits, reduce benefits. Increase premiums paid to Medicare Part B, more out of pocket costs for you. Reduce Medicare Advantage benchmarks. Reduce tax subsidies for employment based health insurance. Reduce Social Security benefits for high earners. Um, I think they already do this with some people who have federal retirements. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Um, Set Social Security benefits to a flat amount. Again, gauge to inflation. Uh, in the long run, this would benefit the government because if it's a flat amount, $5,000 in the future will be $2,500 today as far as purchasing power goes. Increase the maximum taxable earnings that are subject to Social Security payroll tax. So, reduce benefits, increase taxes. How well do you think that'll go over with voters? I don't think so, too well. Reduce spending on other mandatory programs. Everyone loves that until it's the program that they like. Reduce the Department of Defense annual budget. Um, Again, that's a great idea. Uh, but yes, the Department of Defense can spend money a lot more judiciously, but maybe we don't need the biggest military in the world, yada, yada, yada. Some may say, maybe don't send money to Ukraine. Reduce non defense discretionary spending. You know, when they do, all these lobbyists come and say, hey, Congressman such and such, I need money for a gender non binary butterfly study. maybe that money shouldn't go there. It's little, it's fiscal dust in the grand scheme of things, but it all adds up. Increase individual income tax rates. You see what I'm saying here? Like they this is straight from Congress, right? They and my point in all this is they are starting to realize that no matter what political jargon they want to spew, they are between a rock and a hard place. We have inflation and we have a massive debt pile that needs to be serviced. And when we service that debt, we have to dig into the credit card bin. We have to deficit spend, which means the debt gets bigger and the debt servicing cost gets bigger. You see the problem here. So um, voters get to decide too. If Congress comes out and hey, here's a great idea, we're going to cut all your benefits or cut a lot of them and raise your taxes. You think that's politically popular? I don't think so. Eliminate or limit itemized deductions, more taxes, impose a new payroll tax, impose tax on consumption, impose tax on emission and greenhouse gases. Oh, goody. Okay, and I'll link part 2 in here as well. But my question for you guys is, do you think any of this will work? Because it's to the point where we have to tighten our belt and hurt people, metaphorically speaking. We have to hurt their pocketbook because of politicians overspending and overspending and overspending over the last couple decades, and people kind of like, yeah, I benefit from it. We can have a 20-year war in Afghanistan. People can forget that it's even happening, spending money over there. And now we're there. We're at the rock in the hard place where debt servicing costs are becoming astronomical. And we have to add $1 to $2 trillion a year onto the deficit. So we got to get the money from somewhere. Where are we going to get it? Where do you think Congress is going to cut? Because I think the answer, if we don't want the system to explode or implode, is to cut the biggest portions of the budget. And I think there should be a moonlighting period where Social Security, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid are the biggest parts of the budget. I think we should take care of the elderly, but I think private sector and personal responsibility does that way better than the government. We all pay into the government coffers, and Social Security is going to be broke by 2030. They're going to have to cut benefits anyways by 20%. But here's the problem: too much debt. So what are we going to do? I mean, we all benefit from certain government programs to some degree, but where would you want to cut? What do you think is fair for the government to do? But long term, I think the government's going to continue to do what it has been doing, and the system will implode, meaning the dollar-based system. Because none of the things I just mentioned are politically palatable. None of the things I just mentioned will get somebody reelected. And if we know anything about politicians, they're not really they won't sacrifice their political career to do the right thing for America. So if voters are clamoring for more free stuff, they'll give it to them. And that's why I'm a big believer in things the government can't print: real estate, gold, silver, Bitcoin. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Don't forget to join me tonight at 7:30 Mountain Standard Time for a live AMA. See you guys tonight. Peace.